I secretly paid $12,800 for their 40th anniversary party, thinking it would be a surprise gift. At dinner, Mom said, "You're a shadow compared to your brother." Dad added, "Don't come. We must protect the family status." I simply smiled and replied, "Then let him protect the expenses too." That night, I called off all the plans. A week later, Mom called about the rent. I said, "Ask the one with the status." "You didn't have to do all this," Mom said as she adjusted her pearls, "the ones I bought her last Christmas." We were halfway through dinner, just the four of us. Me, my younger brother David, and our parents. It was supposed to be low-key. I told them it was just dinner. No reason. No occasion. The real plan was the next night. The full surprise. I'd spent months organizing a 40th wedding anniversary party they didn't know about. Rented the venue, prepaid the catering, booked a string quartet, even digitized old VHS tapes for a slideshow. I handled everything myself. Quietly. I didn't want attention. I wanted them to feel loved. But David, he always needed attention. "Actually," he said, lifting his wine glass, "I told them there's something big coming." Couldn't keep the excitement to myself. I looked up from my plate. "You told them about the party?" He smirked. "Relax. I didn't say you were planning it." My fork froze in midair. Mom lit up. "So it was your idea, David?" "Oh, sweetheart, of course it was. You always think big." She touched his hand and laughed. "He's always had that spark, hasn't he?" Then came the blow. She turned to me. "You've always been more behind the scenes. A good helper. But David, he has presence. You're a shadow compared to your brother." I didn't blink. Dad nodded like that made sense. "It's important, especially with guests. Don't come if you can't be polite. We need to protect the family's status." I took a sip of water. "Then let him protect the expenses too." No one spoke. I smiled. That night, I called every vendor and canceled. I pulled the deposit. Shut the whole thing down. A week later, Mom called me, not to apologize, to ask if I could help with their rent. I didn't hesitate. Asked the one with the status. "You want to know how I ended up blowing $12,800 on a party I never got to throw?" It starts, like most things in my life, with David, my younger brother, Ivy League student. Family pride. The success story. He got into Stanford last year. Full Instagram rollout. Dozens of photos of him in a hoodie that probably cost more than my entire closet. Proud captions from my mom. "Our boys going places." They never mentioned who was footing the bill. Because the truth is, Stanford costs money. A lot of money. And while they all paraded around pretending David's brilliance earned him the world, the actual payments, they came from me. When Dad's small business went under 2 years ago, I stepped in. Quietly. Took extra shifts. Canceled my own plans. I started covering groceries. Then rent. Then utilities. It added up. When David got accepted to Stanford, I thought they'd finally admit they needed help. Instead, they called me and said, "We're doing this for David's future. He deserves this." As if I wasn't part of the family. As if I wasn't also their son. Mom cried. Dad said, "It's just temporary." I agreed to help. For $1,200 for the first quarter. Next quarter, there was an issue with the loan. I paid again. By spring, I'd already spent over $11,000. And still, every family dinner, every phone call, it was David this, David that. No one ever asked how I was doing. No one cared that I was living in a shoebox apartment, eating noodles, cutting corners. I was the invisible one, the dependable one. I didn't even resent David at first. I figured, maybe he really is working hard. Maybe he'll make all of this worth it. Then I found out the truth. I was home one weekend, fixing the radiator in Mom's car. David was upstairs, supposedly on a Zoom class. His laptop was open in the living room. Notifications kept popping up. Discord, Reddit, YouTube. Curious, I clicked. There were no class recordings. No assignments. Just posts on subreddits about skipping lectures. Copying notes, strategies for appealing suspension warnings. He'd already been flagged for attendance. His grades were borderline. And the worst part? He was planning to drop out after this semester and start his own thing. His words, not mine. I didn't say anything right away. I needed to be sure. So I messaged a friend I knew worked in admissions support at Stanford. She owed me a favor. I asked her, hypothetically, what happens if a student skips 60% of their classes? She confirmed. Probation, then suspension. David was skating on the edge. Meanwhile, my parents were still bragging to neighbors that their son was on track to become a doctor, still treating me like a side character. When I confronted David, he laughed. "You worry too much," he said. "Everything's fine." "Fine? You're failing. You're wasting money." "It's not your money," he interrupted. "It's mom and dad's." That's when it hit me. They didn't know. They genuinely believed he was thriving, that he was the golden boy, because he let them believe it. He faked the status, and I funded it. The final straw came 2 weeks later. We were having dinner, just us, at my apartment. David had surprised me by showing up uninvited. He mentioned mom and dad's anniversary, said he was thinking of doing something special. He leaned back in my chair, sipped my beer, and said, "You know, I might book that rooftop bar downtown. It's expensive, but for them, worth it." I stared at him. He wasn't serious. He couldn't afford that place. I knew it. He knew it. But the next morning, Mom texted me. "David told us about your idea. We're so excited for the party. You boys working together is so sweet." My idea? He was stealing credit for something he hadn't even started. That's when I snapped. I doubled down on the plan, not because I wanted to share it with him, but because I wanted them to see who really stood behind everything. I made every reservation, paid deposits, designed invitations, called family, arranged transport, and I kept quiet. I wanted the moment to come when I'd stand up, mic in hand, and say, "Surprise. I did this." But David had other plans. He told them first. And just like that, in one sentence, they handed him the crown again. They saw him as the generous son, the visionary, the one who planned it all. I was just the support, the background, the shadow. So when they said, "Don't come if you can't respect the family status," I didn't argue. I canceled everything. And I waited. The week after I canceled everything, it was radio silence. No one called. No one asked. Not even David. I figured they were just confused, waiting for some last-minute miracle. Or maybe they thought I was bluffing, like I'd get emotional and pull it all back together in the final hours. They didn't realize I wasn't bluffing. I was done. Then came Saturday, the day the party was supposed to happen. I stayed home, ordered cheap takeout, watched old sitcoms, ignored every alert on my phone. By 7 p.m., I'd gotten 5 missed calls from Dad, 2 from Mom, and a few from family members, mostly cousins asking if the event was still on. I didn't answer a single one. By Sunday morning, the texts started rolling in. "Dad, we need to talk. This isn't funny." "Mom, what happened to the venue?" People were showing up. "David, you're seriously messed up, man. What's your problem?" That last one almost made me laugh. They were upset about appearances. Embarrassed, not remorseful. And then, the real fallout hit. Monday, 8:42 a.m., Mom called me. I answered. "Hello." She skipped the greeting. "Did you cancel everything?" "Yes." Silence. "I don't understand," she said. "People came. There was no food, no music, no anything." "I know." She exhaled sharply, like I'd just admitted to crashing her car. "I thought you were better than this," she said. "Better than what?" "Being invisible." She paused. "Don't start with that. You said I was a shadow, Mom. At dinner. Right in front of him." Her voice got quiet. "That's not what I meant." "It's exactly what you meant." She didn't argue. "What do you want me to say? That you knew he didn't plan anything. That he didn't pay a cent. That I was the one who did it all. Again. That's not fair," she snapped. "He tried. He lied. You didn't have to make us look bad like this. You embarrassed the entire family." "No," I said. "I stopped paying for your fantasy." She hung up. A few hours later, Dad called. "You think this is how you treat family?" he barked. "I treated you better than you deserved. You humiliated us in front of our friends. I paid for your lives for 3 years. And you told me not to come. We were upset. You said I wasn't respectful enough for the family status. So I decided to let the one with the status handle the bills too." "You're bitter," he said coldly. "And selfish." I laughed. "That sounds self-centered. I've been your bank account since David got into college." "That's not true. I have the receipts." He didn't respond. "I know about Stanford," I added. "The warnings. The probation. The fact that he's not even passing." Silence. "I talked to someone in the registrar's office. He's about to get kicked out." "You have no right." "I paid for it." "I have every right." He muttered something I didn't catch. "David's not who you think he is," I continued. "He's been lying. He doesn't care about any of this. He just wanted the credit. Like always." "I don't believe you." "Then ask him." He hung up too. I thought that was it. That they'd circle the wagons, protect their golden boy, and pretend I never existed. But then Wednesday came, and something shifted. Mom called again. This time, she didn't sound angry. She sounded tired. Can we talk? She asked. Just you and me? I didn't want to, but I said yes. She came to my apartment that evening. No makeup, no pearls, no fake smile. We sat in silence for a while. Then she said, I didn't know. I said nothing. I thought he was doing okay. He always sounded confident. I guess I wanted to believe him. You didn't want to believe me. She looked down. I never meant to make you feel less than, she said. But you did. I know. She wiped her eyes. I told your father what you said. About Stanford. He called David. It's true. He's being suspended next week. I nodded. He said he needed a break. That he's starting something new. Of course he is. She looked at me again. You really planned all that? The party. Yes. And you paid for it. Every cent. Her voice cracked. Why? Because I wanted to do something good. For once. Something that wasn't invisible. She reached for my hand, but I didn't move. I'm sorry, she said. Truly. I didn't answer. I wasn't ready to forgive. Not yet. Then came the moment that sealed it. She asked, do you think you can still help us with the rent this month? Just until we get things sorted. I pulled my hand away. No, I said. Ask David. She looked stunned, like she thought the apology bought her another favor. It didn't. After that call with Mom, things got very quiet. No more frantic messages. No more requests for help. Just silence. It wasn't peaceful at first, it was unsettling. Like after a storm, when the air still feels heavy. For the first few days, I kept expecting another blow-up, another guilt-ridden voicemail. But it never came. Just emptiness. For the first time in years, I had my life to myself. I started waking up without dread. No bank alerts, no panicked family calls, no hidden payment requests wrapped in fake concern. I went to work, came home, made real dinners. I didn't check my phone 10 times an hour, waiting for another emergency. I didn't realize how much of my energy had gone into holding everything up, like I was the beam under a collapsing house. Now that I'd stepped away, I saw just how much weight I'd been carrying. I started sleeping through the night again. I called old friends. I even joined a pickup basketball league. Nothing serious, just something for me. I hadn't done anything for me in years. Money stopped leaking from my account. I made a plan. Not just a monthly budget, an actual future. I started saving again. I created a separate account labeled Reset Fund. Each deposit felt like a brick in the foundation I never had before. And then, about 4 weeks after the party that wasn't, I got a call from an unknown number. I didn't pick up, but it called again and again. Eventually, curiosity got the better of me. Hello. A familiar voice. Hey, it's Emily. I blinked. Emily, David's ex. They'd dated for 2 years. She was the smart one, the practical one. I always wondered how she ever ended up with him in the first place. But she left just before he moved to California for college. She'd always struck me as someone who saw through things. I know this is out of the blue, she said. But I think you need to see something. What's going on? I work at First Union Bank now. I'm in loan processing. Okay. She hesitated. Your name came across my desk. My stomach tightened. What? There's a pending private student loan, $22,000. It's in your name. Co-signed. But the paperwork looked off. My throat dried up. You didn't apply for a loan recently, did you? No. That's what I thought. She explained. The application was filed 2 months ago. The SSN matched mine. The signature too, except it was copied from a scan. The timestamps were inconsistent. And the ID used looked like a manipulated file. I recognized your name, she said. And I knew David. I flagged it. I dug a little. I stayed silent. He used your information. Forged the documents. Tried to get a loan for himself. The line buzzed. I stopped it from going through. But you need to report this. Immediately, I logged into my credit report. There it was. Pending. Co-signed under my name. David. Even after I cut him off. Even after I gave him everything. Even after I told them I was done. He tried to use me. Again. I wasn't angry. I wasn't shocked. I wasn't even hurt. I was done. The next morning, I filed a police report. I submitted all the documentation. I contacted the fraud department. Froze my credit. Reported the attempted identity theft. I didn't tell David. I didn't warn Mom. I didn't call Dad. I wasn't going to give them another chance to bury it. 2 days later, legal action was taken against David. financial misconduct, unauthorized use of personal information, document alteration. That's when the flood started again. Voicemail from mom. This must be a mistake. Please, we need to talk. Text from dad. You've gone too far this time. Even a message from a distant aunt I hadn't heard from in 5 years. Family is family. You don't call the police on blood. But blood doesn't mean you get to rob someone and expect silence. I didn't answer any of them. The only message I opened? Emily sent a follow-up. Glad I caught it. Hope you're okay. If you ever need anything, even just someone to confirm you're not crazy, I'm around. I replied, thank you. That meant more than you know. The craziest part? I wasn't surprised. Somewhere deep down, I knew it wasn't over. People like David don't stop until someone stops them. And people like my parents, they don't notice the damage until it threatens their reputation. A week after the arrest, I got a letter in the mail. From David. Handwritten. He didn't apologize. He blamed me. Said I overreacted. Said I should have talked to him first. Said I ruined his future over a misunderstanding. I didn't respond. I folded the letter in half and dropped it in the shredder. Then I went back to living. And for the first time in my adult life, I really was free. It's been 6 months since David was arrested. The charges didn't disappear. The evidence was too solid. The fake loan application, the forged documents, the altered files. In the end, he accepted a plea deal. No prison time, but a criminal record, mandatory counseling, and community service. He never reached out. No apology. No explanation. No anger either, just silence. The last update I heard about him came through a distant cousin. He's working on some project with friends, they said, trying to get back on his feet. I didn't ask for more details. My parents didn't handle it well. They told extended family that it was a legal misunderstanding, that David was set up, and that he was moving forward with big plans. They rewrote the story like they always do. But this time, they didn't include me in the edits. They haven't asked me for help since. Not for rent. Not for David. Not even to explain myself. The silence I once found strange now feels earned. I finally got a chance to build my own life. Not as a backup plan. Not as a safety net. Not as someone else's emergency fund. Just mine. I moved to a new apartment. Bigger. Light comes through the windows in the morning, and I actually have time to enjoy it. It's not fancy, but it's quiet, stable. For the first time, I don't feel like I'm living on borrowed time or borrowed money. I threw away the shoebox full of bills I used to keep, the proof of everything I'd paid for. I used to think I'd need them someday to defend myself. But now I realize I don't owe anyone explanations. I lived it. I know what I did. That's enough. I started new routines. Small ones. I meal prep on Sundays. I read more. I stop checking my phone every 2 minutes. I finally fix my bike. I take it out on weekends, ride along the river, listen to music I actually like. Not what David used to blast when he stayed over and forgot his headphones. I reconnected with people I'd lost while I was too busy bailing out my family. Turns out, I wasn't as forgotten as I thought. I was just unreachable. Always distracted. Always tired. Always responsible for someone else's mess. Now, when people call, I actually have the energy to listen. I've also learned to say no without guilt. That took longer than I thought. For years, no felt like failure, like betrayal. But the truth is, boundaries aren't walls. They're doors with locks. You choose who gets access. And I'm finally the one holding the key. Mom still calls occasionally. Not often. Her voicemails are complicated. One time she cried. Another time she blamed me. Once she sounded like she just missed me. But I never called back. I'm not punishing her. I just don't trust her yet. Forgiveness isn't automatic. It's earned. And she hasn't earned it. Dad hasn't contacted me at all. Not one message. Not one apology. I think he's still angry. Not about what David did, but about what I did. About pulling the curtain back. About forcing them to see who they'd raised and what they'd ignored. But I've stopped needing them to understand. I stopped fighting for a seat at a table that was never built for me. Instead, I built my own. Work is better too. I got promoted, a role with more responsibility, but also more respect. People listen when I speak now. I don't get passed over or talked down to. I don't feel like a placeholder anymore. And for the first time, when I get paid, the money stays mine. I booked a small vacation, a real one. No drama, no fake emergencies ruining it. Just 4 days away, no one else's problems in my pocket. That's what freedom looks like. Not loud, not dramatic, just Uninterrupted peace. Then something unexpected happened. Emily texted again. She asked if I wanted to grab coffee. No pressure. Just friends. Unless it's weird. It wasn't weird. We met at a little cafe neither of us had been to before. Talked for almost 3 hours. We laughed more than I thought we would. She still had that same calm energy. Still sharp. Still clear-eyed. At one point, she said, I don't know how you carried all that. I would have snapped way earlier. I shrugged. I didn't know I could stop. That hit her. She nodded. That's the problem with people like us. We think surviving means we're okay. It stuck with me. We didn't plan anything beyond that first coffee, but we've texted almost every day since. I don't know where it'll go, but it feels real. Honest. There's no pretending. No debt. No performance. Just space to be myself. And that's more than I ever had in my own family. I still think about that dinner sometimes. The one where Mom looked me in the eye and said, You're a shadow compared to your brother. It used to haunt me. Now, it reminds me of how far I've come. Because shadows don't disappear by fighting the light. They disappear when you step out of someone else's. I don't need to prove anything anymore. Not to them. Not to him. Not even to myself. I was never the problem. I was just tired of being invisible. Now, I'm living.